and Ekaleo all. I'm so happy that Omiala participated today. It's always such a joy to have her be out there, shine her light for us all. So thank you, Omiala, and for bringing the way I know you think a lot about the esoteric and moon phases and things like that. So it's nice to bring your natural gifts and talents into this space. And I feel like I heard a lot of things, a lot of prep work, a lot of insight into who we want to become, how we're going to look forward to not just now, but how do we use the moment now to be our best selves later? And I think that's a perfect tie-in to the new moon itself, which is really about pre-manifestation. Nothing that is created is not created first in your mind. And this is a time for us to be in our own humble Enneon way, a facet of Olodumare. Because there's nothing that Olodumare created, the trees and the forest and the ocean, there's nothing that wasn't created that wasn't a thought first of what it's meant to be, what I'm going to create in order to create an environment for all of the things to bloom and to be who they're meant to be. And so that is what we are being called to do as well in this time, is envision it. Envision and know, like the full or like the new moon, that what you want to create is already there, right? So we know that we can't see the new moon. It is dark, it is darkness. So some of it is trust. Like if we're not tracking the moon, if this is the first time we've noticed it, we just got to trust that it's there. But when we know and we track the moon phases, so we start at the beginning of the new moon, and then we watch all the moon phases and the full moon and back to new. There's also a way for us to know for a fact that it's there, and it will, and our time will come where it will be bright and illuminated. And so, like that, that's our destiny. Your natural gifts and talents, the things that you know and do, the things that you're being called to be a part of are a part of your destiny that are waiting, and the rest of it's like waiting to be realized. So in this moment, the call for us is to sit in the darkness, which can be uncomfortable, and to focus on what it is that we're going to create. So this is less of a time of actual physical doing and more of the time of the mental doing, so that you have the steps now that you need to take. You know where you're going. You're beginning with the end in mind. You're creating your path forward, and you get a little relentless about what it is that you want to create, because you get it all so envisioned in your mind that there's no way you can't create it. So a wise man once said, there are 5 levels of focus. The first is thought. So you might have a thought in your mind that, there's something you want to do, passing thought or whatever, but if it's something that you really want to create, you have to put a little focus on it, right? And that may be, a few minutes, it may be a journal entry, it may be something. But then you move into concentration. And so then you move into my focus is narrowed. This is the thing that I'm going at, and I'm going to narrow down my vision into creating this thing. And then you meditate on it. And then you have this focus, and then sitting in this dark place with your full concentration, you start to get insights that won't be there if you don't make space for them to happen. And then with all of that meditation, that focus, that concentration, you then get to internalize the things that you are meant to be doing. Like you become that thing. You become the energy that you put out in the world becomes that thing that you are creating. And in order for you to achieve the thing you want to achieve, in order for the School of Orisha Studies to have become a thing, it had to have taken a thought in his mind, said, that's what we're going to do. He put some focus on it, concentrated what he was going to do, meditated probably on what it could be, and then internalize it. And now look where we are. Now we're all being called to do the same thing with whatever it is that our the thing that we're going to manifest is going to be. So this new moon, just remember this pre-manifestation, you create it in your mind so you can create it in person. Just like a table, just like a, you know, whatever it is around you. That was all a thought in someone's head before it became a reality. And so what are ways that let me just ask this then. What are ways that you can practice pre-manifestation? Just like two people, what are some ideas of practicing that? Michelle Evans at Kaleo. Oh, you muted and then unmuted, or muted and then muted again. Got to come back. There you go.
Hey, Carleo. You never
Gotcha.
said my full name. It was weird hearing it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's so weird. It's so weird. My full name.
I'm sorry. We were not in trouble.
I felt it. I felt like I was.
Shout out, Kevin.
Aboru Aboye, Baba, Bokboabo. I think it's how you say it. To all the was in the room. I was saying just in terms of dream incubation, I know there is one time you can see the new moon. It is, you can't see it, but there is one time you can see it, and that's during a solar eclipse. It's the only time you can actually see the outline of the new moon. And so I was thinking during dream incubation, it would be good to have that as a mental image. As during my incubation, whatever I choose to incubate, it would be good to use the image of the solar eclipse because I want the depths and the wisdom of the new moon to be revealed as it is in the solar eclipse.
Shay, great insight. I was not aware. I guess it never occurred to me. Thank you. Arashina at Kaleo.
At Kaleo, give me 1 second. Yeah, so greetings. Let me get situated. What comes to mind for me is what is first and foremost what not to do. If you look at an artist starts off with a blank canvas. There has to be a void in order to, in order to uh, uh, fill in your life with what it is that you intend to manifest. You have to go through an editing process. In other words, like removing. So, to create that space, you know what I'm saying? And so the process we have to start off in the negative, which is like what not to do. So it could easily be a matter of taking inventory of everything that represents the detractors and the naysayers in the story. Social media, whatever what you're consuming on social media, family, anybody, whatever it is, wherever it is, even if it's a certain way of thinking or a habit, that we may have ourselves, and you have to sit down and be still. Oftentimes, what we do is we run around and we numb ourselves, um, and we numb ourselves with just all types of stuff, constantly keeping busy, constantly moving, constantly allowing ourselves to be distracted, allowing other people's manifestations to fill our minds, and thus we have no room to create on our own or things of our own. And so the first thing you have to do is go through a removal process. And that does take sitting down and being very honest, being very frank, being very real, and not being afraid to look into the dark. So that for me is definitely, and when I think about the story, that what that's what comes to mind, because oftentimes when we can find ourselves doing things like the character in the story, like what he was doing was he was already helping people out, but again straddling the fence. So someone on the line, he was not as rooted internally. So it's like there's doing, and then there's doing from a place of doing, and then there's doing from a place of being, if you want to put it like that, like where are you coming from in your service? Because that's what's going to anchor you when opposition comes. You know what I'm saying? If you're anchored in something that is, everlasting, such as the wisdom of Ifa, and you being dedicated to your cause 100%, that's your anchor, then it's very hard to, move from that space. But again, we have to take inventory as to who are the naysayers in our lives, you know. And it could be a person, place, thing. It could be something that's external, or it can be something that is, internal. But whatever it is, it has to be removable. So that's my thoughts around that.
Mm-hmm. A byproduct of intense concentration on a thing or the things that you're meant to do is that the other things will fall away. And they'll, may or may not be some feelings about that, but, the mission's got to be worth the focus. And when you know, and knowing you're like, like when you know that the work that you're doing is the work that you're meant to do, and this other stuff is just a distraction, it is that anchor, like you said, to come back to when the other things start vying for attention and trying to grab your focus away. No, I'm creating this, and that means whether it's permanent or at least right now, this has got to go to the side so I can envision. And it's not, I don't think it's easy. I think it is a challenge, but I think we're here all together doing this work because we were called to face the challenge and hold each other accountable when we get distracted. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Ifa Femi, welcome. Coming out of the darkness. You're a new moon yourself over there.
The things that help me with my pre-manifestation steps are relatively similar to what Brother Erishinga said. It's like quieting the mind, just like putting myself in a space of isolation where I can really hone in to me. And when I get that moment of separation, I can get very, very clear on what I want my outcome to be, or what I want to manifest, what I want to create. And once I get that clear image in my mind, I just kind of start to work backwards and think about what's the necessary steps. Like, what are the things that's going to have to be put in place for me to, make said situation happen for myself. And it's like a mental workshop for me. It may take like some stuff I got clear right now. I've just been going over the steps in my head. Sometimes I write it down just to be like, very, I guess you could say, specific about things. Just play it over in my head. Just play it over in my head, like staying focused on that. Not really indulging in other stuff, like not being on social media, not really playing into what other people got going on. And one thing that I learned that is very helpful for me is like, it's kind of like, initially I like to be very still and quiet as I focus, but when I got a clear picture of what I want, I got to move. Like my body got to be in motion. I like to walk. I notice when I'm at work and I'm trying to like think some stuff through, I got to step outside the office and just walk around, and it helps me to think my process through. But that helps with my pre-manifestation and working out. Like while I got the clear image in my mind, I got the steps laid out, I gotta run the energy in my body. So I gotta be, lifting weights, calisthenics, something. I gotta keep like a high frequency inside of me. As I've learned, it helps. It seems it helps like the effectiveness of what I'm trying to manifest come quicker. So that's some of the things that I incorporate for myself.
Yeah, that's great. I do think that rhythmic movement has some benefits of putting you like in a more relaxed state to be able to feel more feel more at ease at whatever you're trying to work through. And so some people do like talk therapy, but they go for walks instead of, you know, sitting down and talking, because just the rhythmic movement and the being outside just really shifts the energy and it puts you in a place of safety around introspection. So I think that's a great reminder for any of us who do like that movement piece to you know, get out there and walk and create when you walk. And that also reminded me of another thing that I had read in preparation for today, is an exercise that you might try in your waking life, is by asking yourself, or just, you know, practicing manifestation, right? Practicing saying, you know, I wish for something, whatever it is. But Baba Aloye had said, instead of like something that you wish for, something that you will, because a wish is a little more superficial. It's like a, you know, I kind of hope that would happen or whatever. But a will is something that like, I will this thing to happen. And a will and testament, right, would be a thing that goes on after you. And so not just like what you might wish for, but what do you will to happen? Because that, even just saying that, like, feels stronger and more purposeful. And so choosing something that you will to manifest in your life, and then create the baby steps in order to get there. Because oftentimes the things that we manifest don't come to our door. Some of you may have learned that already. Like, you may wish for $1 million, but that doesn't mean then after you've done that, you sit in the house and you wait for the check to show up in your mailbox. Sometimes it does, not very often. More often what you have to do is manifest something and then put yourself in a place where you can receive it. You got to go outside and do whatever it is that you need to be doing in order to get that $1 million, or whatever it is that you're going to do. So you got to be willing to get yourself out there, take a step in order for your manifestation to meet you. Okay. The last things I might say are a couple other insights I had picked up about ways that you can incorporate or also think about the symbol, because it is about, you know, also intuition, things that are not visible but are real. Just like all, you know, if you ever think about this, like all of this stuff that we're doing, all of the prayers that we're doing, all of the you know, the things that we say don't often have a physical form, but we do it because we know it's there. Like a part of us, even though we can't see it, knows that it's existing. And so a way to practice that with other things too might be to do some well, so find a friend maybe and have them hold something in their hands, and then put in their mind, envision, third-eyed stuff, like what it is that they have in their hands, and try to relay that to you. So maybe it's a crystal, maybe it's a card and a deck of cards, maybe it's a trinket, something like that, and have someone hold it and project it to you and see if you can pick it up. It feels a little silly. Baba used to do it with kids, which, you know, kids will do anything. But actually, I used to do it. My jujitsu professors would do this as a practice at the end of class. Would do, because a lot of martial arts too is leading the mind. So that is a way that you can practice your own intuition, is doing that. And there are also like people online that hide things that you can practice. So I plan on doing that myself. Another is like a lot of sports, right? So you're gonna throw the basket. You're like, people play the game in their head, right? They envision themselves making the basket, right? And if you guys are playing sports, you're probably doing that yourself. And that's, you know, I don't know if we think about it as a manifestation, or think about what we're doing, programming ourselves to get the thing. But if you're already have that habit, or you don't even think of it in that way, that's a very new moon practice, by visualizing the outcome that you want, until there's no other option than for you to get that basket. And then is thinking of the new moon also, it's our intuition, but it's also the ancestral and collective wisdom that is often hidden from us. And that's why the ocean is a part of the symbol, because I think it was the Cubans who say that, you know, there's no way to know what's at the bottom of the ocean. And just like there's no way to know what's at the bottom of the ocean, there's no way to know what's everything in your unconscious mind. But there are ways that you can open the door to be more receptive to what is happening in your unconscious mind, what your ancestors in this time are trying to tell you, what the collective conscious, what has been forgotten, but is ready to bubble up to the surface because you're ready to take that information and run with it. And so that's a way that we can then use our dreams to harness the energy of the new moon. What are your ancestors trying to tell you about the part of the ancestral promise that you're here to do? What part of the collective unconscious that has been buried for so long because it's impossible to bring forward everything into the light at all times. So what's bubbling up for you right now that you can harness to create the thing